Welcome to the Dusty Jobs podcast from Imperial Systems. Industry knowledge to make your job easier and safer.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Dusty Jobs podcast. Today we are live at the Powder, Bulk, and Solid Show. Joining us live at our booth for Imperial Filtration is Todd Havican.
Yep.
With Fagus-GreCon. Did I say it right?
Fagus-GreCon.
Fagus-GreCon. There we
good.
go. That's it.
Solid.
So, Todd, you have been with GreCon for how long now?
I've been with GreCon for 3 years now.
Okay.
But I've been in industrial sales for about 25 years.
25 years. Wow.
Yep. And, a really high quality product line and really enjoying the Powder Bulk Solid show here.
Yeah, you guys it's having a good time?
Yeah. We've got a booth over here at 3712.
Great.
And, working with partners like yourself.
Yeah.
In the show. So yeah.
There's probably a lot of people out there that when we talk about your name, your product, they have no idea what we're talking about. So explain it to me like I have absolutely no idea what you guys do.
Absolutely. So what we do at Fagus-GreCon is that we manufacture infrared detectors that will detect sparks and embers that are a threat to our customer's process.
Okay.
And then we'll extinguish it with water.
Okay.
Right after that. And the customer's process continues operating. There's no interruption. The threat is resolved. And so the risk of fire and explosion is mitigated.
I got you. So let's start this from the beginning. I have a process that's overheated, right? Mm-hmm. And that process creates sparks.
Yes, it is. You could have a grinding operation. You could have a shredding operation. You could have a motor. Anything that's turning could create a spark.
Okay.
And then we detect that and extinguish.
Gotcha. So then we have the spark generated in one spot. Mm-hmm. And then the fan from a dust collector is starting to draw it towards the dust collector.
Right.
Now, there are some other things you could put in between here and there, but not in every situation, right? You can't, like maybe you have a spark trap, but maybe your dust doesn't allow for that, right?
Right.
I'm thinking of wood dust. You could never do that on a wood dust application.
No. And really what's required for dust collectors many cases is a spark detection system.
Right.
And again, because it extinguishes, while the process is running and keeps the customer going, it keeps them safe while they're operating.
Right. So the spark is now traveling through the ductwork.
Yes.
And so your detection system is in the ductwork?
It is mounted to the ductwork.
Okay.
We have at least 2 detectors.
Okay.
At one spot.
Gotcha.
Because each detector has a cone of vision, we want to make sure we see the entire duct.
Oh.
And then with the material flowing through and all that, so we want to detect the spark, extinguish 20 feet away.
So the spark's traveling, it gets picked up, and then you need some distance till you can put the extinguish in.
Approximately 20 feet.
20 feet.
Is
okay.
what we do. And then we extinguish in line
Gotcha.
with just enough water to extinguish so we're not coating.
You're not putting the full fire hydrant to it.
Nope, not wide open. It's typically a mist that we'll put into the ductwork.
Gotcha.
That way it impacts very minimally the customer's process.
Now, how do you guys know how much water to add to that?
We typically follow NFPA standards.
Oh, okay.
In terms of the amount of water required for this application.
Gotcha. So there's already somebody out there really smart, did all the calculations, did some testing, figured this out.
Yep. And we follow those guidelines.
Okay, so it gets picked up, travels down the air duct, the water hits it, goes to the collector.
Yep.
And then
then nothing happens at that point.
Nothing happens.
That's the whole point is the spark is or ember is extinguished, and then there's no threat to the dust collector, there's no threat to the process. It's all mitigated, and then the customer continues operating.
Gotcha.
So sometimes what causes that spark will be you'll get a piece of metal that will get into a fan, and that'll throw sparks into the ductwork.
Oh.
And then as that occurs, there could be more than one spark. There could be 20, 30, 40 sparks. Will still extinguish continuously as the operation goes on.
But then once it realizes that there's no more sparks, it stops applying the water, right?
Yes, it does. Once when the sparks are not detected anymore, it'll stop. Now, the customer may choose to say, okay, if we have 50 sparks in quick succession, I want to know about it.
Oh.
So then we'll notify the customer, because...
So you can put an alert system on this.
Yes. Yeah, we have a control console that communicates between the detector and the extinguisher, and then it'll record how many sparks were seen, what duration, how long did we extinguish, and all that detail can be given. And then an alarm will go off if it meets the customer's requirements for an alarm.
Oh, okay. Because some applications so in some applications where you get a lot of sparks, this might be going off once, twice a day.
Exactly.
Nothing to worry about. But if you get 100 of them,
right,
then we want to know.
Right. In typical wood applications where you don't have really any grinding operations,
right,
it's really not a problem. But if you have a hammer mill where you are actually grinding up wood,
is that where you guys see a lot of this?
That's where we'll see a lot of sparks.
Oh.
So, and we'll protect the hammer mill. We'll protect shredders and recycling applications. We're in grain applications as well.
Yeah.
A lot of food applications where we're detecting not just sparks and embers, but hot spots as well.
Oh. Yeah, so it has the sensitivity down to just something that seems warm.
Yes.
Huh.
Yep. And using infrared, our reaction time is so quick, we react in 250 milliseconds. That's why we have such a short distance.
So someone who doesn't normally operate in milliseconds, what is it? Compare that to something.
It's a quarter of a second.
So as fast as I can blink.
Right.
It's going to react to that.
We see it. We extinguish, we activate extinguishing, and that's why we need the distance that we have, so we can extinguish so quickly.
So, do you guys just operate with water, or is there other things you would use to extinguish?
Mainly in the ductwork, we work with water.
Okay.
But customers will say to us they would like to activate other devices, other equipment, such as CO2 systems or dry chemical systems. We can do that as well.
Gotcha. So you can tie into other systems too that might need to be utilized.
And we can do machine shutdown as well. So if a customer wants to completely shut down because they might have a dangerous situation, they can shut down and save the equipment.
So I'm saying, when I get 100 sparks, that's it. We got to shut this down.
Yep.
We can wire it up to do that too.
That's right.
That's great. So let's say, we're in Chicago right now for this, right?
Yep.
And in the wintertime, it gets a little chilly here. So if I'm using water to extinguish my system, what do I do with that whenever the temperature gets cold? How do you guys handle that?
Yeah, so great question, because we have insulating jackets that we provide to the customers so they can prevent freezing from occurring if the extinguishing is outside.
Gotcha.
If the extinguishing is inside, obviously not much of an issue.
Right.
But we suggest to the customer they use heat tape along with our insulating jackets.
Yeah, yep. Okay. So that seems to... And then, like we were talking about earlier, you're not putting a lot of water into the duct, so it's a minimal effect on the dust collector or the other systems.
Because of the air speed, a lot of the water ends up evaporating.
Oh, okay. But it's just enough?
Just enough to extinguish the either the hot ember or the spark.
Gotcha. So what's the main applications you guys end up in? Is it wood dust? What's your major?
We're big into our big markets. We're in the wood industry quite a bit. Okay. So any panel manufacturers, wood pellet manufacturers are very big. But we're also in the grain market. We're also in any place that has a dust collector that may be transporting a spark along with that dust.
Yeah.
We will be in that marketplace.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, we at Imperial, we have a spark trap, and we know that is only good in certain applications, and it's mostly fume applications for us. And so I know when I've talked to you guys in the past, it's always come with the dust that has a characteristic of it being maybe a fluffy dust or something that if you try to put it in another device, it's just going to clog it up and cause an issue?
Many cases will be in like wood applications, and the dust they often call wood flour, which is really, really fine, like a sanding operation.
Right.
All of our detectors do not collect dust from that material, but also our nozzles that spray into the ductwork are self-closing, so we don't collect
very
any
low maintenance on your
Yes,
system.
exactly. And with our control panel, we monitor all the components.
Yeah.
So if something goes wrong, we can go ahead and notify the customer ahead of time that there's any problems. They can, change nozzles out, change detectors, and all of that if they have a problem.
So there's a proactive monitoring.
Yes, sir.
If something's going to go wrong, which is what you want on your protection devices.
Exactly. So if there's no warning signs or no alarms,
Right.
the system's working. It's fine.
Yeah.
The customer can continue working without worrying about fire explosion.
Or a big puddle in their dust collector because of valve and fat.
Exactly.
Huh. So, is there any applications that you would say do not use this system on? Is there something that you're like, listen, if you have this is not the system for you?
Well, if you have a material like black carbon,
Yeah.
Black carbon does not do well with water.
Gotcha.
We can detect in those applications, but typically we will detect an alarm rather than extinguish. Because black carbon tends to cake very easily. Other applications is metal applications. A lot of times you can't add water to those metal applications. So we will detect only.
Right.
And then notify the customer if there's a spark or ember that has moved into a particular area.
Yeah, so you guys aren't just detect and extinguish, but you are also detect and aware.
Yes.
Like, just to let people be aware.
Because many cases, because of reduced maintenance staff, reduced plant staff, they need to have these notifications, this automation,
Right.
so they can monitor it without having to go to it have somebody there all the time.
Babysit it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and we have technology to help with those things, and that's what you guys are doing.
Yep.
So
That's
is there
exactly it.
anything new or anything that people should be thinking maybe you guys are coming out with down the line, or are we just...
We have a new detector that can be used in this kind of an environment. Most infrared detectors are used in dark environments.
Yeah.
So they can sense embers and sparks.
Right.
We have our new daylight detector, which can work in this environment where you have all this light, and it can go ahead and detect the same sparks and embers. So if you have material that's being taken off of a conveyor into a drop chute,
Right.
we can detect sparks and embers in that drop chute in this environment, and then extinguish if need be down the way. So that gets us into any operation like recycling operations that are outside.
Yeah.
We can detect hot spots and sparks there as well. That's been a new area we've gotten into with this new detector.
Oh, that's great.
So
Yeah,
and what we've done is it's a digital detector that's been specifically programmed to look for the sparks and embers that are a threat, and filter out all of the ambient light that you see.
Gotcha.
In the
Gotcha.
area, so.
Because I know I've seen at times where if the detector is too close to the opening of something, sometimes some daylight could get in there or reflection and cause a false alarm.
Right.
So that's phenomenal that now there's one out there that can overcome those challenges.
Right. Exactly.
So.
And we also have a new extinguisher that's going to be our standard that is going. It's rather than having a 20-foot distance from sensor to valve.
Yeah.
It's going to react a lot faster, and we're going to be able to reduce that distance to about 10 feet.
10 feet.
Yes.
Well, that's so we have a daylight sensor and 10 feet distance.
Yep.
Boy, that's a big game changer in a lot of these situations.
We're having a lot of success with that, and customers like it because it plants are getting smaller, so they need the shorter distance, and there's more daylight in these applications than what most customers realize, and that's really what we're looking to make it easier for the customer as much as we can.
Yeah, and that's where I think we've seen that as an industry where people are trying to make their facilities brighter, more enjoyable for their workers.
Right.
And with that being great for the workers, sometimes it does bring new challenges for safety where
Yes,
it
it
would have
does.
worked back in the day.
Yep.
In some
Yep.
of the dungeons that people used to work in. So
Absolutely.
yeah.
So yeah, and our control console control panel has memory where it can, if anything happens to the system, it will record that. If there's a line break, if power is shut off, it will be able to it still has a battery backup, but it'll still be able to record and operate for a period of about 10 hours.
Well, that's great. So in a larger event, maybe something's going on, maybe a natural disaster, that'll still be able to do its job.
Exactly, because a lot of times if you lose power to the plant, customers are powering down their processes.
Right.
Sometimes that's when the threat actually occurs.
Right.
So our system will still be active and operating, still doing what it needs to do without interruption.
Well, that's great. That's really good stuff. Well, Todd, thanks so much for giving us a little bit of your time. I know you guys are busy here at the show. I hope people stop by and see you. If you're listening to this after the show, you can reach out to us at Imperial. We work with GreCon on all types of things. You can look at GreCon. We'd all be glad to help you out.
Yeah,
with all
absolutely.
Of this stuff. So
Great.
Yeah.
Well, thanks very much.
Yeah. Well,
thanks for having me on.
Have a great day. And everybody who's out there listening, just thanks for listening to the podcast, and stay healthy and stay safe.
Thanks for listening to the Dusty Jobs podcast. Breathe better, work safer.